G'day guys, welcome to ozgameshop.com, and today I'll be reviewing Far Cry 4. So Far Cry 4 is an open-world action-adventure first-person shooter that was developed by Ubisoft Montreal that I reviewed on the PlayStation 4. And it tells the story of AJ Garley, who after the death of his mother, he decides to travel back to their home country of Kyrat to honour his mother's dying wish to have her ashes scattered there. Unfortunately, while travelling into the country by bus, it is attacked by the Royal Army, where you are introduced to the violent king of Kyrat, Pagan Min. Claiming to have known your mother, he takes you back to his palace, but you end up escaping with the help of Sabal, who is a commander of the rebel force known as the Golden Path. From here, you discover that your father actually established this rebel group, and so AJ is seen as a symbol for the Golden Path. So from here on, you do everything you can to help out the Golden Path to successfully dethrone Pagan Min and take back Kyrat for the people. So here's where I come to a small problem. The fact that AJ is able to turn into a hero/killing machine in the same day with no initial build-up or characterization. And yes, this is one of those games where the protagonist comes out of nowhere and is able to solve everybody's problems. I really think that they could have put more thought into this process, because the whole sole hero thing in a huge war is quite ridiculous. Pagan Min is a fabulous villain, with such witty dialogue that makes him both charming and unstably violent. If you have ever played Borderlands 2, Pagan actually reminds me a lot of Handsome Jack, both being unstable with hilarious dialogue. So if you happen to have played Far Cry 3, then you're going to feel perfectly right at home here, with a lot of the game consisting of more of the same. Kyrat is beautiful as you look off into the mountainscape and then you realize that you can actually go there. This is one hell of a beautiful game, and it is filled to the brink with AI to make the world feel real. As you explore and complete tasks around Kyrat, a number of random events can occur just because they can, or they are something known as a karma event. These events allow you to earn karma, and they can vary from saving a hostage to helping the rebels defend against an animal attack. And speaking of animals, there is a great variety of animals in this game, from the peaceful wildlife like pigs and deer, to the more ferocious ones like tigers, cheetahs, and those bloody honey badgers. All of the animals have their own unique AI and carry out different actions to make them feel like a living, breathing creature. I tell you what, it really is a sight to wander down to the lake and to see the elephants washing themselves. At times, it just feels like you are wandering around your own virtual zoo. So the large majority of the gameplay in Far Cry 4 revolves around taking down Royal Army outposts, rescuing hostages, hunting, and causing mayhem and destruction wherever you go. So you're gonna need a decent arsenal, right? Well, this game does not disappoint. There is a huge variety of weapons at your disposal, from assault rifles and shotguns to handguns, sniper rifles, bows, crossbows, and even a bloody elephant gun. I personally loved the single-handed grenade launcher and the crossbow. It may be the slack man's version of the bow, but man, it can take out targets so fast within succession. It's just so awesome. So when you're taking down an outpost or anything really, you have the choice to go in stealthy or guns blazing. Personally, I always went in stealthy, using my camera to tag enemies, and taking them out from afar with my bow. But if I did get discovered, I got out my grenade launcher and started blowing stuff up. Vehicles are back and are fast and furious as ever, with some notable improvements and mechanics. You now have the ability to shoot and drive at the same time. At any time, you can whip out any single-handed gun and open fire, all while continuing to drive. Now this does sound like juggling two balls while jumping, but I actually did get used to it after a while and managed to pull off some great shots. But if you are having trouble with the combination, you can activate an auto drive feature, in which the car automatically travels along the road while you focus on the shooting. Along with quad bikes, a variety of cars, and a hovercraft, Far Cry 4 introduces the first ever flyable vehicle. While there are also hang gliders around the world to float around the skies, you now have access to a homemade one-manned helicopter. This is a no-brainer addition to the franchise and really does make it easier to get around, and you can also rain bullets from the sky to take down foes. So along with being able to hunt animals to upgrade your gear, you also have your skill tree, in which you use experience that you gather to unlock new abilities. These abilities can range from different kinds of melee takedowns, improved aiming, defense, and even the ability to ride elephants. Yeah, it's definitely a highlight of 2014 to be able to jump up onto an elephant to ram and smash your enemies like they're ants. Enemy types have haven't really changed from the previous games, with your standard gun-toting goons to heavy armored soldiers with big guns, but a new addition to the roster is the Hunter. Hunters are a stealth enemy class that wield bows with the ability to not only become untagged, but they are able to sway animals into attacking you. So if you have happened to encourage an animal to attack your foes, Hunters are able to defend against that by encouraging them to attack you instead. It's a great new addition to give you something else to think about during battle. A new online feature that has been added to the franchise is co-op. Two players can now team up together to cause destruction and mayhem wherever they go. Although I never really took the time to try it out, I heard good things about it. Along with co-op, competitive multiplayer is back with 5 versus 5 matches. With a few different modes to choose from, the biggest feature about the multiplayer is the two very different teams. Once you start a match, you are either the blue, these guys, or a red golden path. Each team have access to different weapons, items, and skills, which makes for a very interesting match. For example, the golden path have guns and vehicles, while the other team have bows and a syringe that makes them sprint as fast as the wind. I actually really like the idea about this multiplayer. Unfortunately, I did have some lag issues, but then again, that could just be my internet, as I do share it with a number of different users. And finally, the map editor, which gives users the tools to create their own maps and publish them online for other players to try out. This adds so much replayability to the game and gives players access to some unique, if not wacky, situations. So if you have played Far Cry 3 and you are watching this review, you are probably thinking it sounds a lot like the previous game, and that's because it pretty much is. Far Cry 4 doesn't really add anything new to a franchise that peaked quite high with the third game in the series, but it did manage to improve upon an already great game. Mechanics have been improved and new ones have been added, animals are now more realistic than ever, but most of the side missions and collectibles is a lot like what you've already done in Far Cry 3. It is also quite easy to be killed in this game, and you will probably die a lot, as the AI can at times be quite unforgiving and relentless, and so this becomes quite frustrating at times, but you do learn to overcome it. Lastly, the characters in this game. They are so weird. You've got the golden path, right? And they are always serious and always going on about winning the war and defeating pagan men. But then you have these bizarre side characters that just make me question the tone of this game, as it does present with some, at times, bleak themes, but you have these wacky ass characters. Granted, they are only side mission characters, and this kind of strange behavior doesn't really come up in the single player missions, besides Pagan, but his personality represents what an unstable king he is. So in the end, Far Cry 4 doesn't really add anything amazing that the last game didn't already cover, but it did improve upon it, resulting in a much better made world with great gameplay mechanics and enough stuff to keep you busy for hours and hours upon hours. So I'm going to go ahead and give Far Cry 4 an 8.5 out of 10. I really wanted to give this game a 9 or more, but the fact that a lot of the game has already been done well in the previous game just affected the score. But don't let this scare you, as Far Cry 4 is still a fantastic open world game, filled with lots to do, mayhem to create, animals to see, and even more. This game will keep you entertained for hours on end, and you will without a doubt have a good time. Just keep an eye out for those bloody eagles. I would also like to recommend playing the third game if you haven't already, because the antagonist in that game, Von, I can't remember how you pronounce his name, his performance is amazingly good, and that alone requires a playthrough of this game. The only villain in any video game that I've ever played to actually give me that threatening feeling. That's just amazing. Alright everybody from ozgameshop.com, I hope you enjoyed my review and I hope to see you for the next one. I'm bloody out of here.